Hello, all 31 of you beautiful minds out there, you beautiful means that are paying attention to me and my ramblings. My vespertine ramblings, because it's like 8:13, which is not quite vespertine, but it's late, it's dark outside. A few months ago, I made a video that I took down on the Uvalde shooting that happened in Texas. I don't really remember why I took it down, because I didn't really say anything that was inappropriate or offensive. I just wasn't, a lot of the videos I posted on the channel I've taken down because I'm very hard on myself, and I just don't like the quality of it, and I want to only post things on this channel that I'm proud of, even though the quality is kind of shit. I'm kind of recording from my fucking laptop. I don't have any equipment or microphone or anything. I'm just doing the best I can with the equipment I have. Sorry, I just ate a little something. But just to kind of give you an idea, right now I'm living in Hampton, Virginia, and close by is a city called Newport News, Virginia. And, the whole area is kind of in a restive state, and I might not really communicate this, but I'm a pretty sensitive modeling person, and everyone else is kind of fucked up by what happened recently at Richneck Elementary School. Don't know exactly where that is. I think it's in Newport News. It would be fucking weird if I knew where all the elementary schools are. Like, that would be kind of concerning and disconcerting. But yeah. So essentially what happened, kind of explain to the world what happened in my area. There was a 6-year-old, a first grader, I assume, or a kindergartner, who somehow brought a gun into his classroom and shot a teacher, like I think once or twice. Obviously this kid's identity is protected for obvious reasons. And in the state of Virginia, 6-year-olds can be tried as adults. And he's received what's called a temporary detention order, and he was sent to a mental hospital to receive some type of psychiatric treatment of some sort. If you're not really privy to what a temporary detention order is, that is something that was because before the Virginia Tech shooting in 2007, I believe, that wasn't a thing. It was really difficult to put someone in a mental hospital against their will, but because of that event, they changed the legislation so that they could do that, so it can mitigate risk to the community and to that person. So, I don't want to kind of give away how old I am, but, because, just so you kind of give it away when I tell you the next following sentence, I had a quarter-life crisis recently, so I don't want to, I kind of gave it away, but, when I do remember the Virginia school, what the fuck am I talking about? The Virginia Tech massacre. I know that's a kind of morbid to call it a massacre, but that's what it was. And I've done a lot of research into this person who did it. And basically, even though I always fucking forget his name, but his name's not important. The name is important, but it's more about the underlying issues that caused that to happen that still haven't fixed yet in this fucked up country. So, I do remember, I was young, but I just remember kind of not really understanding why something that could happen, and I remember having nightmares about someone coming into my elementary school and shooting it up because of that. And then I asked adults, and I said, why didn't anyone save these people who were victims of the shooter? And they said, well, they're adults, they can take care of themselves. Okay, I want you to remember that. They're adults, they can take care of themselves. We have this kind of toxic zeitgeist, or like, that's the wrong word, or this toxic locus or outlook on individuals. We live in an atomized society, especially in the United States, where it's like, you take care of yourself and fuck you if you can, you know. And basically, I was just kind of shocked by that, kind of flummoxed and taken aback that, you know, I just wanted to know why, kind of in my little, you know, undeveloped brain, why something like that was allowed to happen. You know, I would have very disturbing nightmares, and I was never even around a gun. But I just remember, and this is kind of prescient, because years later, little did I know that elementary school shootings would actually be a thing. So I was kind of somewhat of a, I don't want to say prophet because I don't believe in that shit, but it was a premonition of something to come in a way, even though I don't really put stock in dreams, and I'm a very like empirical, skeptical person, so I don't know, but it is kind of strange that I was able to predict something that was going to happen, even though I didn't have the intelligence or cognition to do so through dreams. Anyway, so this kid, I think it's the wrong thing to do. I think a lot of people would like to harangue this fucking 6-year-old. I don't hate this kid, and I'm pretty sure I would probably go as far as to say the teacher was shot by this kid does not hate this kid either. I'd be surprised if she did. And in fact, I would think she's probably heartbroken. I'm not going to speak for her. I don't know this woman. But you could tell that she really cares about her students, because essentially when she was on the planking or the gurney or whatever, she was basically almost on her deathbed. She survived, obviously. Just the first question was like, how are the students doing? She was like my age, you know. Jesus Christ. I told you I was a fucking loser. Out there fucking teaching kids, you know. You'll never find me in an elementary school classroom ever. I can't fucking stand kids. I'm sorry, but yeah, no. She like, that was her first question, was like, how are the students doing? And you know, this gets into an underlying issue, because one of the things is, when you look at pure statistics and you look at pure numbers, like, you know, like an innumerable amount of information, or a high quantity of numbers. Like, let's say you say something like 50,000 or 100,000 children go to bed hungry. You read that and you're like, wow, that's fucked, but you go about your day. But if I like showed you a picture of an emaciated child crying itself to sleep because it hasn't eaten in like 5 days, perpetually, over and over again, sporadically, and I like hyper focused on this one child out of 100,000, it would have a psychological impact on that person. And I think that's why this event is important, because we get bogged down in numbers when we say 35 people killed in this, 60 people killed in this, 80 people killed in Norway. It's too much for our brains to process. But if you kind of focus on like this very seemingly insignificant situation where, a teacher was not killed, but injured by one of her students, and you just hyper focus on it, it kind of allows you to analyze the underlying issues a little bit more efficiently, because you're able to have that emotional impact, and you're able to visualize that very simple thing. One student takes a gun out, shoots his teacher. You're able to visualize it more efficiently and easier than you would have before. That's just how the human mind works. We don't really belong in this itemized civilization where there's too many faces, too many names, too many bodies, too many people, too many countenances. We're very tribal. We're tribal animals. We can only process 150 people at most. So when it becomes more human and more digestible and more digestible, it allows you to kind of, because human beings, Homo sapiens, have a profound imagination. That's one of the things that got us out of the plains of Africa, is that our imaginations, even though it's limited, it's very colorful, and it allows us to act or innovate. The fact that I had a conversation with somebody recently that was in the military about the situation, a fucking 6-year-old almost killing his teacher, and his first thing, he got really defensive about citing examples of countries where they took the guns away, and you're still gonna have a black market, and someone who wants to do illegal things with a legal gun are gonna do it anyway. Okay, that might be true. That is true, actually. Yeah, there's gonna be black market. There's always gonna be black market. They're gonna do it anyway. But does that mean that we shouldn't fucking try to do something? Australia was able to figure it out, and that was in the 90s. They had the Port Arthur massacre, right? They had a buyback program. What they did was they basically said, the government put not a stipend, but some money aside, and they said, well, basically, what we're gonna do is, first off, they bought back the weapons. They said, we're gonna buy back your weapons, give you a certain amount of X amount of dollars for let me just kind of type this up before Australian buyback program. Yep, they did. Yep, that's what they did. They confiscated 650,000 guns after the Port Arthur massacre, and they basically bought back the guns. And they haven't struggled with these mass shootings ever since. I think it was Winston Churchill, which I'm not a big fan of, basically said, I'm going to paraphrase this quote, Americans are the only ones that will exhaust every avenue of action before they decide on the most obvious and simple and effective form of action. That's why we're decades behind the rest of the Western world when it comes to healthcare. Just universal healthcare that works in other countries. No, we can't have it because that's socialism. I think what this Richneck elementary school shooting shows me is that this country is profoundly fucked. There's no fixing it, because we have a population of people that are retarded. I mean, it might be a loud minority, or I won't even say it's a loud minority. It's probably a good 40% that is holding the rest of this country back. Most of us are uninformed, selfish, self-serving, only care about ourselves or how much money is in our bank account. We don't care about We don't have the bandwidth to actually care about the issues that are like causing our country to dissipate and then disintegrate into nothingness. I mean, I'm pretty sure that within the next decade, this country is going to resemble something akin to what we see in what we saw, because it seems like the Central American and South American countries are getting their shit together. There's going to be this irony where we're going to end up looking like somewhere like a war zone, or Mexico, or like El Salvador, or like, and like I said, these countries, the South, I'm not trying to denigrate them, because they're actually getting their shit together without the assistance of the West. They're moving to the left. They know that the United States isn't gonna come help. In fact, we make things worse. We try to enact coups in fucking Venezuela that fail miserably. We've been doing it since the 70s, like with Chile and Pinochet and Salvador Allende and everything. And it will be karma. I don't believe in karma, but the United States deserves everything that's coming to it. We have exported essentially what is terrorism internationally. None of the 6 conflicts that we're involved in has fought for anybody's freedom. It's actually made things profoundly worse in other countries. We spent trillions of dollars in Afghanistan over the span of 2 decades, and the Taliban came back and took over as soon as we left. And we're so focused on being the fucking world police that we can't even our fucking children can't even go to school and learn how to spell, or like learn basic shit that's gonna make them like a prosperous adult someday. Like, just get an fucking education without risking their fucking lives. I don't even like kids, but that's fucking disgusting. We can't how fucking sick. Like, look, I tell you what, and we deserve this shit. Like, the rest of the Western world, and perhaps even the rest of the world, probably looks at us like we're a schizophrenic having a psychotic episode on a bus. And we deserve it. It's fucking embarrassing. And there's a lot, that metaphor is very apt, because, one of the first things that it declines when you have schizophrenia is your intelligence quotient. And you're just living in this fucking fairyland. Like, 40% of the fucking country believes that Jesus is gonna come back in the sky on a fucking horse and fucking bronze armor or some shit, or bronze sword, and like kill all the heathens and sinners and send them to hell, and to make the world heaven, and then take the rest of us to like the actual heaven, or some fucking weird shit. Like, most of us don't believe in evolution. Like, we try to push creationism. We don't accept climate change. Like, we're fucking invalids collectively. And I'm not above that either, because I have been a victim of our shitty education system as well. I had to actually go and seek out information on how the world functioned. Some basic shit like just fucking geography and shit, geopolitics, history. They never taught us shit in school, like, the Holodomor. I didn't learn about something like the gulags until I was like in 11th grade. Like, there's so much about this fucking planet that I was not privy to or exposed to, because they kind of just rushed. They just kind of looked at America. They only taught us about American history and domestic history, and they didn't even do that correctly. Like, I remember they told us some bullshit in school that, like, oh, the reason that we don't see many Native Americans anymore is because we came and then we gave them diseases, and all the diseases killed them off. They didn't tell you about the Trail of Tears and how we like cultured fucking I forget the disease, some virus. We culture viruses, and we basically cultured a virus, put it on fucking blankets, sent them out west to reservations to fucking get not killed, but starved to death, where there was like unfertile land. and they died along the way. We killed 50 million of them. That's like 5 times more than what people that died in the Holocaust. But there's no fucking Native American genocide survival museum. I'm pretty sure there's not. We genocided them. We sent them to boarding schools so we could take away their language, so they could fucking basically make them European in a way, or white. Cultural genocide, actual genocide. Then we have, what we did to the obvious, fucking chattel slavery. They want to make that, we want to call that involuntary relocation now, or some shit. It was fucking chattel slavery. Teaching, basically treating human beings with like a sentient mind and a colorful inner experience, and like they're fucking animals. Like they're automatons or less than that. Lynching them, gelding them, using a device that could break the sound barrier to like lash and rent their skin. Fucking mutilating them, raping them. Yeah. What we did to the Chinese out west, like the railroads and the Asian Americans, like making them like, forcing them to commit themselves to manual labor to build the infrastructure in this country. There's like an innumerable amount of examples. Just like, I'm pretty sure I'm missing some big ones. The Japanese internment camps, there were concentration camps. People think concentration camps, they immediately think death camp, but no. The definition of a concentration camp is where you take a mass amount of people, take against their will, and then you put them there for an indefinite amount of time. I don't really think people understand like how fucking evil the history of this country is. It's probably like more evil than like other countries, like Germany or something like that. I mean, we know what they did. We always want to talk about Germany. That's another thing they don't really teach us in school. I know this is kind of getting away from the main topic of what I was trying to fucking say, but I'm trying to paint a bigger picture here. So basically, essentially, I lost my train of thought. Fuck. No, but I'm gonna get it back. They teach us about World War II, just Germany killed, which is not even true. Like, they killed Jews, yes, but it was also gypsies, homosexuals, people with intellectual disabilities. I don't go into like all that detail. But we talk about like how Germany is so evil, but just because what the fucked up shit we did was a little bit older, long ago in the past, and it really was not that long ago if you think about it. Like in this like fucking civil rights, the civil rights movement that ended in '69, that wasn't that long ago. My grandparents were alive, and we're regressing to that, back to that shit. Just like that fucking, it's just like the elites in power just want us to fucking hate each other so they can take the bag and run. I'm not talking about the Illuminati or some weird shit like that. I'm talking about like the people who actually bought this country over, like, long ago, bought this country and bought all the land and all that shit. A lot of people don't really know this, but essentially from 1861 to 1865, after the Civil War, there was a court case. I'm actually going to look it up right now so that I can kind of expound on it a little bit. I'm going to look this shit up because I want to actually get... Yes. There we go. So essentially, according to the Brenna Center for Justice, or BrennaCenter.org. So basically, let me go back real quick so I can kind of look at the main idea. Justice. Yep. So basically, I think it was actually a little bit before, or yeah, it was a couple of decades after the Civil War. So, what I'm reading from this article is, as Tom Hartman notes, the Supreme Court embraced Conkling's reading of the 14th Amendment and a head note in 1886 in Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Before argument, Mr. Chief Justice Waite said, "The court does not wish to hear an argument on the question whether the provisions in the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, which forbids a state to deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of laws, applies to these corporations. We are all of the opinion that it does. This is not a part of the formal opinion, but the damage was done. Later cases and critically cited the headnote as if it had been part of this case." Some Supreme Court justices objected to the Santa Clara approach, dissenting in the Whaling Steel Court. In 1946, this is giving me too much information here, but essentially, Justice Douglas and Black thought the question of corporate personhood should not be decided by the people, not the Supreme Court, but they can convince their fellow justices. So essentially, in this court, if I can kind of summarize what I just said here, about around this time, what they kind of paraphrase it, they came in this court case, they essentially argued for corporate personhood. And I remember watching a documentary on the same thing where they, this is actually good. Let me read this a little bit. Nope. No. So basically, they, around this time in this court case, they argued that, well, since black Americans are not longer 3/5 of a person and they're people, why can't companies be referred to people as well? Think about it, like, you know, they're making or personifying a fucking organization, you know, with the chief executive officer being the brain of the organization, and so we got to a point where in this very important moment in American history, it wasn't one group of people that were enslaved. Everybody became enslaved. Democracy and capitalism is not synonymous. And I want to kind of circle back to what I was talking to before. They don't care about you. They don't care if your fucking kid goes to school and gets killed or, like, massacred. They don't care that if you fucking, like, you know, get in a severe car accident or you get your leg ripped off in a fucking subway. Subway, you know, in a fucking subway, meaning, like, not like the fucking fast food chain Subway, like an actual Subway. And you don't have health insurance and you get charged hundreds of thousands of dollars and you go back, you declare bankruptcy. They don't fucking care that you can't declare bankruptcy on student loans and you're trapped here forever just to work them off in some, like, on a fucking neo-feudalistic hellhole, corporate hellhole. They don't give a fuck about you. That's why our education system sucks so much. They want you to be just smart enough to be a good worker, but just dumb enough to not know what the fuck is going on about the world. They don't want you to be smart enough to know how fucking bad we have it in the West. Because if Americans did, we would be on the White House lawn tomorrow by the millions, like building fucking guillotines, to, like, or fucking going to, like, all the companies of Wall Street with guillotines and shit, wanting to eat the rich. We would, like, demand change. You think that our fucking, like, governments and our fucking corporate entities that fucking tell us what to do are scared of us? Of course they're not, because we're fucking stupid. Most Americans won't be able to even tell you the 6 conflicts that we're fucking involved in, let alone point them out on a fucking map. It just fucking pisses me the fuck off that we let something like as horrible as this happen, and, like, we're just not doing shit about it. Like, we're not doing one fucking thing. Again, I don't want to anathematize this kid, because I won't. Because at that age, you're a tabula rasa. or kind of like a canvas that hasn't been painted on yet. Even though your personality technically develops, and according to psychologists, by 3 years old, you still have a lot of potential, and there's still time to save you. And I think there is hope for this kid. He's gonna live with this guilt for the rest of his life, but I do think there's potential for him to become a functioning member of society. There's still a chance. He didn't kill the teacher. There's that. But I think there's some underlying issues here. How did this kid get this gun? What is going on in his home life? What kind of economic stressors are causing his parents to be so fucking absent that he's able to get one of their guns and take it to fucking school to shoot a teacher that is put there to educate him and make him educate him. I already talked about how shitty the education system is, but in theory, build him up as a man or a human being. There's this documentary I watched a while ago. It's on YouTube. I don't, you can watch it for yourself, because I'm not gonna kind of supplicate what the horrific abuse this child went under. But she essentially was abused so much that she tried to stab her. They interviewed her. She said, I want to stab my brother. I want to stick pins into his penis and shit. She was basically on the trajectory to become the next Eileen Wuornos. And they took her and gave her severe and intense psychiatric treatment. And she rose above her trauma to become a nurse and a normal functioning member of society. So there's hope, and there's a silver lining in the story. But there's little hope to see. Because the fucking fact that this shit happened just shows our disintegration as a fucking country. And I guarantee you, nothing is going to come to fruition from this. Nothing is going to change. We're going to argue in the fucking upper chambers and lower chambers of the fucking Senate about some type of legislation that's never going to fucking get passed. We're going to give our fucking bullshit fucking thoughts and prayers to fucking, from a God that doesn't even fucking exist. God isn't gonna do shit. Fix your fucking gun laws. Fix your pass some fucking legislation. If there was a God, why would he help us? Because we're not fucking smart enough to help ourselves. If you're a parent, if you're listening or watching, I'm glad that your kids are okay. I'm glad that the damage has been mitigated, and it was just one maimed and injured teach educator who is fine now. But this should be a wake up call to y'all. Go out there and fucking vote, and don't vote for anybody, because these psychopathic, fascistic Republicans aren't gonna do shit. You know what I mean? At least vote Democrat to mitigate the damage. Kind of do some research. Look at this will give you a fucking wake up call. I mean, we hear about this shit, this fucking all these shootings all over the country. But since this is happening in your community, you realize that it's a little bit more personalized, right? Because I'm pretty sure I could have been in your shoes when you first heard of my roommate's calling me. I'll call him back. But when you realize that you kind of lost my train of thought. I lost my train of thought because sorry, I'm gonna get this. When you realize that this is an underlying issue that can only be solved and that needs to be solved. Oh, I realized what I was gonna say. I can put myself in your shoes. You're probably thinking fuck, this is the next Sandy Hook as an active shooter. My kid's dead. Thank God that they're not. I don't believe in God, but I'm using that metaphorically. Thank God that they're not now. But that should have scared the shit out of you, and you got lucky there. Now imagine a parent where there was a mass shooter, like what happened in Uvalde, mass shooting and notification, and their kids aren't there. Imagine that was your kid. Pretty fucking terrifying, right? It's like, you see how serious this issue is. Just go out and vote. Be active. And I'm just glad that your kids are okay. And I'm feeling pretty melancholic about this. I'm obviously angry and passionate and zealous about this. And yeah, everybody be safe out there. Everybody, stay healthy. It's pretty hard to see silver lining, but like I always like to say, it is pointless and futile to despair in the midst of a storm, for the sun and the stars always lie beyond the clouds.